Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media for HAR, and we are pleased to be joined this morning by Richelle Henderson. Richelle has a unique look on affordable housing as she is a real estate broker and works for Harris County in the Housing Programs Department. Welcome back to the program, Richelle.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Christina. I really appreciate the invitation to be here at Member Focus Monday. And happy fall, y'all.
Happy fall, y'all. And Richelle, I say welcome back because many might not know this, but you were one of the very first interviews that we did on Member Focus Monday many years ago in the boardroom with not so great lighting and all of that. So we really appreciate everything that you've done for HAR in volunteer capacities and, of course, being on our program today.
I'm really glad to be here. And the interesting thing is, from then to now, it's so different. So I'm glad to be here to share some new news.
Yes, thank you. Before we get into, I know you have a lot of resources for our viewers today. Before we get into everything, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do.
As you mentioned earlier, I am a real estate broker. I've been practicing for over 25 years. I've got both public and private sector experience. In the public sector, I've worked as the director of real estate development for the Houston Housing Authority, where we were developing multi-family properties for senior citizens. I've also worked in the private sector in property management, where I was managing these were apartment communities on college campuses. I was the regional director for Century Development and for a company called American Campus Communities. And so you guys can imagine that was like rip roar and fun all day long on college campuses. I've also been the project manager in disaster housing programs, and that was serving the Gulf Coast regions for Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, Ike, and Harvey. And that was in Harris County, city of Galveston, city of Houston, and New Orleans. And then we also did 41 states across the nation, and that was with CDM Smith. So I'm currently housing director, assistant director of housing at a community services department. And we'll talk more about what all we do at community services department. I'm also a 2015 graduate of the Texas Realtor Leadership Program. I was the 2018 HAR Risk Management Chair. I currently sit on the HAR Government Affairs and Advisory Group, and then I'm also a member of the Urban Land Institute Next Initiative. I know that was a mouthful, but I wanted to share all of that just to give our members a sense of where I've been and what I've done. And just to say that my whole career, past, present, and future, is really focused on helping families to establish suitable living experiences, whether that's as a result of a disaster or just as a result of the market that we happen to be in. And so I'm all about living experiences and creating communities of lasting value.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate that work you do. Very important work. So let's dive into it. What are some of the major challenges that the Houston area faces when it comes to affordable housing?
That is the question du jour. And if I were to answer with increased mortgage interest rates and skyrocketing home prices, everyone on the call would say, tell me something I don't know. So I'm hoping to be able to tell you a little bit of some things that are happening that just aren't right there on the surface. So I'll go into a little bit of the history, but before we really jump in, I wanted to just define what affordable housing really is, because a lot of people throw the term around and it kind of gets muddled. And so, you know, when describing the term affordable housing, it's usually used to describe um, homes that are affordable for people who can afford to spend 30% or less of their income on housing. And so when we look at that, when we all look at that, we think, wow, that's 30%. Even our debt to income ratios are not at 30%. They're, in the 40 plus. And so when you really think of that, that's a really, really low threshold. And just to give you some sense of what that looks like in real income terms, for a family or for an individual, they would need to make less than $52,200. For a family of four, they would need to make less than $74,550. And so when you look at that number, I mean, you're talking about purchasing a house, you kind of get the sense of, well, 30%, that's pretty stringent in
Mm-hmm.
terms of affordable housing. It's also sometimes used, the word affordable housing is used to describe people who are, low to moderate income. And sometimes that
Mm-hmm.
also gets kind of a negative connotation. And so we have to be careful about that. Um, but the thing that we have to remember is that in the tumultuous times that we're in, 3 years ago, we may have been doing great, but right now, because of all the things that have happened, our incomes may have fallen. And so some of us may fall into that group. So it's a fluctuating thing. Affordable housing is important, not just for I'm doing air quotes, low to moderate income families.
Mm-hmm.
So you can slide one, please. So, first, I'll talk about some of the outcomes of the My Home is Here needs assessment. This was commissioned by Harris County, and it was led by Rice University's Kinder Institute in conjunction with some other local partners. And you can see the URL, so you can definitely go to that site to get the report.
Mm-hmm.
It was published in October of 2021, and it's just shy of 200 pages. So it's not a light read, but it is easy.
Mm-hmm.
So what this report did was it gathered so many different data points that allow us to now kind of look towards some of the solutions. It addresses some of the housing inequities, but it also allows us to begin to plan for the future. And then, secondly, so that was the My Home is Here report. And secondly, we'll jump into 2023 and talk about the findings published in the State of Housing in Harris County
Mm-hmm.
report. And that was also published by Kinder Institute, and that was published in July of this year. So the question was, what are the major challenges that we're facing, Harris County is facing? And so I'm going to throw out some overarching challenges first, and then we'll kind of drill down into some more individualistic challenges. Um, so one of the challenges has been is there's not been a comprehensive affordable housing plan. And so there have been lots of partners across the city and county that have been doing work in this market, but it's really difficult if you've got a small impact here and a small impact there. And so
Mm-hmm.
without this comprehensive plan, you're not able to really witness all of the impact that is truly happening. One of the other challenges is that there's a need for partners to be able to adapt and change. And so that requires a shift in mindsets, and it requires the thought process. It's kind of like that pre-planning thought process of knowing how to sustain profitability. So everyone in our market, all of our partners, our lenders, our realtors, our title companies, our construction, all of those adjacent industries have to be able to adapt and make a profit. And so if you're talking about serving a family that can only afford to spend 30% on their income, that means that they're not buying a luxury property, they're buying a property that may be scaled down in some
Mm-hmm.
regard, and that affects everyone's profitability. So that's another challenge. Also, there's a challenge of how many organizations and agencies have the appetite for joint ventures. And so it gets really difficult when you've got nonprofit agencies who have their own board of directors and their missions and visions, and then you have local governments who have their own governing bodies who also have their visions and missions. And
Mm-hmm.
so there has to be a real appetite for people coming together and doing really hard work. It's not easy. It's really hard work. Um, and then, that even larger piece is the policies. It's really looking at the policies that may have been um, defined or identified 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, and they just don't work anymore. And I think the one that we all know about, of course, is how much funds are available to award to like each individual family.
Mm-hmm.
At one time, $1,000 would have been like everyone's thinking that's great, and then later 5,000 was really really joyful. But we're at a time where yes, when you can add 5,000 plus 1,000 plus other funds, it all works out. But just those standing alone is really difficult for families to get into that house.
Mhm.
So you can show that, I think it's slide 2. So I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about the comprehensive plan, because when we talk about all of these agencies they're working in the community, they're out there and they're making strides towards being able to provide affordable housing, but without this, the joint ventures, the efforts are disjointed. And so the perception of the impact is also disjointed. What the My Home is Here plan did for all of the organizations that took part in it was it allowed us all to see what the real need is. Like, how much money do we really need in order to even start to address this housing crisis? And so what this slide shows you is that the real gap is about 47 million dollars. That's the gap, and that's a lot.
Mhm.
And what it showed for Harris County and its partners is we were able to identify that with our joint efforts, partners together, we could address about 10 million. Like, we have identified $10 million at this huge crisis. And so, that's positive. That's great. We want to be able to chip away, but you guys can see that 47 million. That's a big,
Mhm.
that's a big gap for us to try to fill. So now I'll go ahead and um, jump to the 2023 Kinder Institute report,
Mhm.
and that was, its housing report they published. I think this is the fourth year, and they publish on an annual basis. It came out in July, and so 5 takeaways from that state of housing report. It's on Houston and Harris County, was really focused this year on the rental community, and
Mhm.
so it came out with these 5 takeaways. Number one, that rents have surged since 2025, and the amount that rent has surged has outpaced the amount that families are making. So income is staying at a neutral pace, but rents have gone up. And then that renters are struggling to keep up, which means that um, a person who is living in a rental property and the landlord says, "Hey, are you going to renew? And we're going to go up by $300." That family has to make a choice. Can they afford the $300 increase? Do they need that $300 to pay child support?
Mhm.
Are they able to? Do they have the money to move? So they've got to make these really, harsh or hard decisions about what they're going to do. And if they decide that they're not able to afford that $300 rent increase, then they're likely having to move to a property that may have a lower quality of living. And so
Mhm.
now added on another problem, and that rental property that has a lower quality of living may also have a school district that is, not as highly rated, or a community that is not as safe. And so all those things come into play when you're talking about just the fact that rent is going up.
Mhm.
And then the big thing, because we're talking about, this was talking about affordable housing and the ability to purchase a home. But if you're struggling to pay rent, then you're not likely to be able to save for a down payment, and thus you're stuck in the cycle of never, even thinking about whether you can truly afford to purchase a new home. Just to give a little bit of context, the rents went up most in Second Ward and Southwest Tomball. So the median rent doubled in Second Ward and surged 71% in Southwest Tomball.
Wow.
And then also Montrose rose by about 66. They saw rents rise about 66%
Mhm.
um, over the last 5 years. So you can see that it's just a continuum, and you have to find a way for families to get out of the vicious cycle.
Yeah.
One of the other things that this year's report, found was that evictions have surpassed pre-pandemic levels. So Harris County's eviction filings have gone up 27% since 2022. And so that's a historical average, but it's gone up. And so what does that tell you? That some of those families where they were faced with the question, are you going to renew your lease? It's going to be more. They may have faced not only making that decision, but they may have faced eviction. And once they're in the eviction cycle, it means that it's very difficult to release. And so again, you're having to go to an apartment community that has potentially a lower standard of living.
Yeah, so certainly a lot of challenges.
One of the final
go ahead.
Takeaways from this report was that 25% of the homes, the rental homes in Houston, are held by large national institutional investors. And so some researchers have also connected the relationship between those large institutional investors with the declining home ownership rate and more eviction filings. And so you think about, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, we might have seen one rental community out in Katy or Cypress. And now you can drive all over the city and you see these brand new, communities. They're full rental. It's 200 homes. They're brand new. They're beautiful. And so now there's that market for that. And lots of people are moving in that direction instead of, taking the other road to purchase a home. So when we talk about the 2023 gap, and we can go to slide 3, it just really pinpointed that home ownership is out of reach for a lot of families who are renting. So last year when this report came out, the report identified that the gap for a renter was $135,000. So what they meant by that is, in order for a person who is renting to be able to afford a home, that based on their income, they would actually need $135,000, like literal money, in order to be able to purchase. Now, here we are in 2023, and as you can see, that affordability gap has now jumped to $190,000. And so again, when we're talking about financial assistance and we say, oh, we can give you down payment assistance for $5,000, that $5,000 doesn't go as far as it used to. We're talking about families needing as much as $190,000 just to get into a home.
Wow.
So those are some of the overarching challenges that have been identified through real data and real statistics. And so those are the things that Harris County, along with its partners, are looking at and are going to use to inform how we design new programs.
That's thank you for breaking all of those down for us, because I think what you mentioned at the beginning, it's certainly easy just to say, well, lack of inventory, prices are high, the end. But there's so many other functions and reasons behind the lack. So what are some specific ways that the county is looking to address the lack of affordable housing? Richelle? I think we may have lost her there. Give me just a second. Can you hear me, Richelle?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can
Yes,
hear you.
your video froze for just a moment, but we could hear you perfectly. So I wanted to get into some of the ways that Harris County is looking to address the lack of affordable housing inventory.
I'm sorry, Christina, I can't hear you.
Okay.
Maybe
Let's see.
I see the question on the screen. I think we've already answered that one.
Yes. So the next question that we wanted to get to was the solutions. What is Harris County working on?
Okay, so I think you may have been asking about some of the tools that make a difference in affordable housing. And so I can kind of jump into that if that's okay.
Okay.
I'm so sorry I can't hear you. That's really strange. Okay, so let me Okay, thank you. That helps. What tools does Harris County have that can make a difference in affordable housing? So, um, when we look at some specific tools, I first want to talk about the funding that we already have in our coffers, and so um, we can go to slide 4, and we can kind of show some of what's happening in Harris County right now. So. Um, we have a down payment assistance program, and most of you are, or some of you are familiar with that program. It's been in existence for over 20 years. And that's where we offer up to $23,800. And it will provide for or fund down payment, closing cost, home warranty. We even will purchase 1 year of flood warranty. And so that's been a program that's been operating over the years. Um, some of the things that are new and literally recently launched or recently in effect, one of those is our single family new construction program. There's over 57 million in CDBG DR funds at work in this single family new construction. It is really phenomenal because what this program offers is, or what the program does is, they buy new construction homes, and these are from builders like D.R. Horton, Syntex, in communities that are full of amenities, like Katy Crossing, and just lots of other communities around the city. Then they sell those properties to low income families, those families who make below the 80% median. And so, how that works is, um, when a buyer comes to the table, they may be approved for 150,000, or let's say they're approved for 200,000, and the house is, 300,000. The single family new construction program will actually discount that house up to 45%. So that is really, really amazing. They plan to purchase and sell over 200 homes in the next 2 years. They've closed just about a dozen homes. They've got 8 closings on their books right now. They've got 100 families who are eligible to purchase. And so, what the single family new construction does is they go to a builder and they say, hey, do you have homes for sale? They'll try to buy them in bulk and then provide those to families. So that's one that I know, real estate agents will definitely be interested in because it's working. The third program that we have is called the Community Land Trust, and I'll talk a little bit about that one later. But that one is also really phenomenal, and it's something new and we're excited about. And then fourthly, there is Harris County has partnered with the Harris County Finance Corporation has partnered with TDHCA, Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, to offer down payment assistance. So we have a program called My First Texas Home, and what Harris County does is they offer an additional $1,000 to the 4% down payment that TDHCA offers. So it's just another, incentive, more funds for families to get in homes.
Excellent.
And there's one other there's another special initiative, and that includes expanding our tax increment financing through the Harris County Redevelopment Authority.
So hopefully Richelle can hear me now. Doesn't look like she can, but I wanted to get into some specific ways that Harris County is addressing the lack of affordable housing inventory.
So some of the specific ways that Harris County is trying to address the lack of affordable housing inventory. First is our broader commitment to single family and multifamily development world. And so there are some links that will drop into the chat for each of the programs that I've talked about, so that you can dig really deep into each of the programs and where their statistics are right now. But the single family new construction, like I said, the goal through their acreage development and their inventory is to buy and sell 200 homes within the next 2 years. And that's pretty aggressive. And so what that means is we're not buying ones and twos, we're buying acreage, we're partnering with developers who do this, and we're building communities. And so you can look forward to that coming soon. In terms of multifamily, we're also really, we've been doing multifamily for years, but not at this level. And it's because we have this $200 million of ARPA funds, funds from the American Recovery Plan Act. And so in our multifamily arena, we are trying to preserve. In other words, we are buying existing multifamily properties and we're repairing them, and then we'll place them back on the market for affordable housing, mixed use development. So we're challenge is to preserve 450 units, but we're also planning to purchase or build brand new units. So 1,000 brand new units. And so that means that, lots of families will have the opportunity to afford the unit, but have a really nice place to live. Our second way that we are addressing the lack of affordable housing is our appetite to partner. So there are lots of, nonprofit agencies and local partners, developers who are doing things. And so Harris County, we know that we're an integral part of how to solve the problem because we have the dollars in hand, the mission and the vision, and we want to partner with those who are doing what we plan to do. And this hasn't always been the case. Harris County has not always been in the driving seat in terms of housing programs. We've had one or two, and there are smaller programs because we have entitlement dollars that we get on an annual basis. And, that entitlement might be $1 million. It's never been at the level of $200 million. And so there's a lot for us to work with and offer to partners. So we're partnering with local and national builders for both those single family and the inventory and the acreage development. We're also partnering with organizations like LISC. They just launched the Own the Hue initiative. That's where Wells Fargo, through their Worth initiative, provided $7.5 million. And so we're leveraging some of the Harris County dollars with that initiative to move families forward. Also, there's the NAACP Homes for Houston initiative, and they're trying to provide housing for BIPOC communities, but they're doing it in a very systematic way where they call it, education to keys. And so they're tracking every family that comes through. And that's a hard part too. As realtors, we know it's hard to track all of the leads that come through. And so we're trying to work with organizations that aren't just going through the motions, but they're actually starting from beginning, taking them through the education, taking them through the literacy, getting them with a lender that knows how to operate in the affordable housing world, partnering with realtors who actually know how to work in this industry as well. So
great.
That's some of how we're partnering and how we're trying to meet the challenge.
That's wonderful. I'm curious if you can share any success stories or innovative solutions for creating affordable housing in Harris County.
Some success stories, sure. And there have been some innovative solutions. So I talked about the My First Texas Home. We've originated 400 mortgages so far. So we're really excited about that. And there is the ability to do about 167 million more in that realm. Our single family new construction, we've currently identified 140 projects. And so we have 24 inventory homes that are in inventory. We're also partnering with families who've been affected by repetitive flood. And so we're buying their house and then we're offering them the new construction. So we think we're going down the right path and really focusing on, families that want to, reach that homeownership stage.
That's wonderful. And the creative, innovative solutions. I mean, I'm not sure if Richelle can hear me, but we wanted to touch on that a little bit as well.
Christina, I'm so sorry. I still cannot hear you.
Okay.
I'm looking at the time. Do I need to wrap up? If I need to wrap up.
No. We wanted to talk about a few more things here, but
so I think One of the other things when we talk about affordable housing, just in terms of like getting down to the nitty gritty, we have to talk about who our partners are, the ones who actually move us forward. And one of those partners is our lenders. And so our lenders and our realtors. And so what Harris County is also doing is they are trying to educate realtors and lenders on how the program works. Now, here's the crazy thing is that not every program works the same. And I know that, makes people, like say, what are you talking about? But because our programs are funded by different funding sources, those come with different regulatory compliance requirements. And so we have to write the policies based on those requirements. And although some of the eligibility requirements are the same, there are some nuances and there are some different eligibility requirements. And so one of the things that we're doing is, number one, for our lenders, who are key, we're implementing a loan origination software, and we're hoping to have that in effect the first quarter of 2024. And so we definitely think that that will speed up the process in which our side can work with our lenders to make things happen more quickly. The second is that we're instituting a lender roundtable where we're getting feedback. We're bringing our lenders in to have that conversation. What things can we do to help you to work better with our program? And so again, they've worked with, maybe one or two of our older programs, but now that we've got these new ones on board, we need to also let them know, hey, we're glad you know about that one, but let us tell you what's different about this one so you can be successful in every single lane that you want to participate in.
That's
And
excellent.
we think that we're doing the same with our realtors. We're developing realtor briefings. And so we know that once realtors know how things work, they're off to the races, and that they will bring families, to the table to take advantage of the funds that are available in Harris County.
Very good. So I wanted to ask also about educational opportunities available to both realtors and consumers in regard to affordable housing.
So, what affordable housing educational opportunities are available to realtors and consumers? What a great question. um, so, I would say one that has rolled out over the last year is the down payment resource portal. That one is great for realtors and for consumers. And you guys know that consumers think that they know everything. They know stuff before we do. And so this is another way to help educate them. They can go into the portal. They can look for homes, and that specific home will give them an outline of the down payment assistance resources that may be available for that specific home. That's phenomenal. That saves you time, but it also gives them empowerment, because now it also introduces them to down payment assistance. And most people feel like it's this, mysterious thing that, is held, underneath people's coats. And that's not really the case. So that's really opening it up for research and for more understanding and for knowing the details. But it's also great for realtors, because there are times when people ask us, hey, can I get down payment assistance? And so now you also don't have to try to, work through the shroud of mystery. You can go right to that portal and start to help your family to figure out if there's down payment assistance available. Number two, it's always about education. And so I would definitely say that the Texas Affordable Housing Specialist certification is one that is phenomenal and will help realtors to better navigate the affordable housing landscape. The certification is really, really, really valuable, because it kind of gives you a broader range of clients. And so that also helps, because now with the knowledge, when you have that knowledge, you're able to speak to it more easily and more clearly, and you don't feel like you have to go and do all the work, because you've already been educated, the resources. And that's what the certification does. It's a 2-day course. And so I think, it's just it'll help you with financial strategies. And so, I think it's definitely something that would bring value to, your real estate business. And I've been certified since 2011, before I even got into this market. And so I know that it's valuable. And I would recommend that. Secondly, I would say that the HAR Housing Symposium. It's going to be a really exciting opportunity, and that is coming up October 25th. And we'll drop the link in the chat for both the certification, the TAHS certification, and for the HAR Housing Symposium. If you're asking why you should attend, here's really the scoop. You're going to gain so much insight into crucial issues surrounding this affordable housing market. Harris County is not the only game in town. You'll see our partners there, and you'll hear each of them speak specifically about how they're doing, what they're doing, and how you can engage with them. I mean, I'm just giving you like a little tip of the iceberg, but when you really better understand how many people are involved in this venture, you'll be like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. So you're also going to get to network with fellow professionals who are delving into affordable housing. And so I think the bottom line is that the knowledge, is the empowerment. So, and then lastly, so I'll see you at HAR Symposium on October 25th. And then lastly is for these Harris County CSD programs, these housing programs, we're dropping the links into the chat. Visit the website. And I didn't get into specifics about any of the programs because they're different and because there are managers and teams who are running each of those programs. The last thing I want to do is give you misinformation because things change on a daily basis, right? But I want you to be able to go and see for yourself, get connected and stay connected because you guys, this is a phenomenal time. $200 million for affordable housing. It's, hands down, this is a time to do something different, to pivot, to learn. And so, I think those are some of the things that will help realtors in terms of, moving forward the education and the knowledge.
Well, this was excellent information, and I know that Richelle can't hear me, but we certainly thank her for all of this great information today. I would typically ask if there's anything else that she wanted to end with, but I don't think that she can hear that.
So, Christina, just if I can give just some final thoughts.
There we go.
I really feel like we're in a unique opportunity right now. And the goal of Harris County is to spend millions of dollars for housing development and preservation. And so I want to invite my realtor family, my partners in this industry to take advantage, to help us to make this vision come to fruition. When times get hard, realtors who survive, they pivot. So this is a great time, if you're not already, to enter into a new niche, to expand your business, and to help us make an impactful impression towards ending the housing crisis for individuals and families in Harris County. And so with that, I'll just say it was a pleasure, and I hope that someone today will be inspired to assist at least one family to achieve homeownership utilizing one of Harris County's affordable housing programs.
Well, thank you so much to Richelle. We truly appreciate your time today, and our members are thanking her in the comments as well. I do want to mention before we go that next week we will be joined by Skip Richer from Garden Line. He's going to help us understand what to do to help our yards, our trees, our plants recover from the drought that we were facing this summer, and also how to prepare for a potentially hard winter. So be sure to tune in next Monday at 9 a.m. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.